welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Shells, and if you love all things sewing and fashion, then you are in the right place. I want to start off today by firstly apologizing as I've been missing for quite a few weeks. If you follow me over on Instagram, then some of you may already know that a close friend of mine recently passed away, which was very unexpected. And as you can imagine, that's sort of taken a toll on me, and it's been really difficult the last few weeks. So my head has not been in the space of creating content, but I feel like I want to get back in my flow. So I'm here and I'm continuing on from where I left off with some wardrobe essentials, or should I say DIY wardrobe essentials, because we're going to be making them ourselves. And yeah, that's what today's video is about. In my last tutorial, we made the Vicky Sews Alia t-shirt, and in today's video, I want to do another wardrobe staple. And the one we're going with today is this beautiful white button down by Nomi Patterns. I love this white button down. I have sewn the Vicky Sews Cynthia shirt quite a few times, and it was, or should I say is, one of my faves. But one of the things I don't quite like about that shirt is that the cuffs aren't long enough. The arms are just a bit off for me. And the details on this shirt by BEAUTE du Jour I love, particularly she has the long cuffs, and I like this sort of double cuffed detail that it has going on as well. I will pop a picture on the screen so you can see it, but this is the white button down we're going to be sewing today. So yeah, let's get into the video. So I've gone ahead and cut out all my pattern pieces. I'm going to be sewing up my shirt today in a poly cotton which I picked up from my local fabric land, and I'm going to be sewing my shirt in a size 20. It should give me quite an oversized fit. As you can see, it's a bit oversized on this photo, so I'm going to go with a size 20. What I have forgotten to do, however, guys, is to interface the necessary pieces. So before we do get started, and before you get started, you will need to interface your collar band, your upper cuff, and also your lower cuff pieces. I'm going to be using a woven interfacing today, which is actually one of my preferences, especially when using fabrics like cotton. And a tip for ironing on interfacing, guys, is to press rather than iron. I will show you what I'm talking about as we go along, but just take note of how you apply your interfacing, as it can cause it to stretch along with your fabric and sort of take your measurements off by a few centimeters. So that's just something worthy of note. So you want to make sure when interfacing your fabric that you have the bubbly side, which is the side that is the sticky side, facing your wrong side of fabric. So make sure the wrong side of your fabric is facing up and the bubbly side of your interfacing is facing down. And we don't want to iron, as ironing can cause your fabric to stretch. What we want to do is to just press. Just take your time and press. Make sure your iron is on the right setting so you don't burn your fabric or interfacing, and just press, going over all of it. And this will ensure that your fabric measurements stay the same and do not stretch. And that there is a sewing tip. Guys, while we're on the topic of interfacing, I just wanted to say, if you have a project that requires it, don't think that you can get away without it and sew your project, because it will not sit on your body as it's intended to. Interfacing is added to cuffs, collars, and waistbands to give them structure. So if your project requires interfacing and you don't have any, make sure you get some. They do have different weights for interfacing, lightweight, heavyweight. They also have woven. So there's many different types of interfacing. So it's worth doing a bit of research as to what the best interfacing would be for your project. Most patterns do tend to say what sort of weight you will need, but I just want to stress, if interfacing is required, then make sure you've got some interfacing and don't sew your project without it. On some shirt plackets, you may have to add a strip of interfacing, but on this shirt, because we're going to be double folding the fabric, it will act as the interfacing. So we don't actually need to interface the outer layer of our shirt. Some shirts will require you to interface because that is where we're adding our buttonholes and buttons, so we need a bit of firmness. But on this shirt, we're actually double folding it, so there's no interfacing needed. Now the first step is to take one of our front pieces, guys, and fold the opening edge to the inside along the interfacing fold line, and we want to give that a good press. Once we've gone ahead and folded our opening edge over to the wrong side, what we then want to go and do is give it a basting stitch just at the top and the bottom of our shirt opening. For basting, I like to set my machine to the highest stitch length, which is 4. Once we have the interlining section folded, pressed, and both ends basted, we now want to go ahead and fold over to create a facing, which will form our placket, and we want to give this a good press. And once we've given it a good press, we want to go ahead and baste the outer edge of what will now become our shirt placket. I now have both my left and right pieces basted close to the outer edge. And guys, remember, a basting stitch is temporary, so we're not back stitching at the beginning and the end. Once we've basted our placket down, we now have to go ahead and mark 4 inches from the hemline, and we need to top stitch over our basting to that point. Four inches from the end. So we now have to top stitch over, and this time we are going to be back stitching at the beginning and the end up until our point here, 4 inches from our shirt hem. So on both the front pieces, I've now gone ahead and stitched over the basting stitch that we did on the wrong side on the right side, and I've stopped as instructed 4 inches from the raw hem on both sides. Now we've done that, we can place our front pieces to the side for a second while we work on our pockets. For this next step, guys, you'll need to turn in the upper edge of your pocket piece by 1/4 inch and give it a good press. You'll then need to turn the upper edge to the right side of your fabric along the fold line and give that a good press before stitching both ends. Just working on the pocket for my shirt, and I found some sort of embroidered anglaise type fabric in my stash, and I thought it would look pretty cool as the patch pocket instead of just a plain cotton pocket over my shirt, and then thought against it because this is a staple. I want to be able to wear it all year round, and I just don't feel this fabric works in the colder months, so I'm not gonna add it to this shirt, but I do hope to add it to something else for the summer, so watch this space. I love this fabric. In fact, it was my mum that picked it up and said I should take it. It's only a scrap, so I can't make much with it, but look out for this soon in another project for summer. Once I folded all the edges of my pocket pieces towards the inside and given it a good press, the next thing I'm going to do is turn my pocket to the right side and give it a top stitch. So I've gone ahead and top stitched my patch pocket, and now taking the left side of the front of my shirt, I am going to pin in place. Edge stitch all around the edges, leaving the top free. Now that we've done our front pieces, we can move on to the back. And I've just noticed a mark on my fabric, guys, on the inside, and it's also showing on the outside, which I hope once I wash this, it will come out. No, I haven't washed my shirt before sewing it, which I would always recommend you do, but as this is oversized, if it shrinks, then that's fine. We're now going to create the pleat in the back of our shirt. Prior to basting, I'm just going to give this a light press. Now we're on to our yoke pieces to form our back. Oh gosh, I've noticed another stain, guys. I really do hope this comes out in the wash. I can put that to the side for a minute. I'm gonna place this right sides together. We now want to go ahead and with our fabric, the inside of our shirt facing up, we want to just press our yoke upwards towards the neckband. I'm just eyeballing this, guys, but what we need to do once we've attached our yoke pieces is on the inside yoke piece, which is the facing, we need to press the seam allowance inside. I haven't made a shirt before. This is where things can start to get really tricky, so you have to pay close attention to the instructions. This is our yoke facing, which means this is the piece that will be on the inside of our shirt, and this yoke is on the outside. All right, so what we want to now do is attach our front pieces right sides together to our yoke piece. Now this next part is new to me because I've never sewn a shirt and done this before, but what the instructions are telling me to do is take the sides of our yoke where we've pressed our seams inwards and encase the raw edge of the front piece and yoke within that, like so. So this is new to me, and I love projects that teach me something new. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get my needle and thread ready and slip stitch along the left and the right side. With both my left and right shoulder seams slip stitched, the next step I went ahead and did was to stay stitch my neckline. And the next bit we're going to be working on is our collar. You will recall that we've already gone ahead and interfaced one side of our fabric, and we're going to place the collar pieces right sides facing. We're then going to go ahead and sew all edges together except the bottom edge, which has the notches. Really need to invest in a point turner, but I'm pretty pleased with how my corners have come out. And now I'm just going to give this a nice press. Now with our collar band, with our wrong side facing up, we are going to turn 1.5 centimeters or 5/8 of an inch seam allowance up. And we are going to give that a press. I'm just eyeballing it, guys, but it may be easier for you to mark this. The next step is to pin my uninterfaced side of my collar to the interfaced side of my collar band before placing my uninterfaced collar band over the collar, pinning in place and sewing, leaving the neck edge free. With our collar now done, the next step is to attach it to our shirt by pinning in place and clipping the neck edge where necessary and sewing with the recommended seam allowance, leaving our pressed edge free. So now we're going to be working on the sleeves, and the next step is to reinforce the lower edge with a stitch. And once we've reinforced it, we're going to go ahead and cut in the middle of this stitch right up to the edge, close to the stitch up here, but not cutting through it or on it. So be careful, like so. Taking our continuous lap piece, what we want to go ahead and do is pin this right side to wrong side. We want to go ahead and stitch along the stitching line. Once we've attached our continuous lap right side to wrong side, to give it a good press, making sure the seam is pressed towards the already folded lap. And what you want to make sure is that you are covering the seam so it's hidden underneath the continuous lap once we sew this down. Now, I've never sewn a shirt like this before. Again, I'm learning something new here, but I think this is a lot easier than sewing a placket, especially if you're a beginner sewist. The instructions do actually say to slip stitch this, but I'm gonna just give it a top stitch a couple of millimeters from the edge and sew it down. Hopefully that doesn't interfere too much with how it looks. And here's how my continuous lap looks with a top stitch on the outside. Instructions say to baste the lap in place, but I'm just gonna go ahead and put a pin in here to keep it in position. Place the other side of our lap on top. The next step is to fit a diagonal stitch just across here like so, keeping it free from the shirt sleeve. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is add our pleats, and our pleats should be in the direction of our continuous lap. So to add our sleeves to our shirt, we want to make sure we have the right sides facing. So the easiest way I do this is to have my shirt inside out, and then what we now want to go ahead and do is press our seam away from our sleeve, and we don't want to trim this down, because what we're going to go ahead and do once we give it a press is top stitch it on the right side of our fabric. After you've gone ahead and top stitched your sleeve, you'll probably want to go ahead and give it a good press. Now that we have our sleeve attached, what we want to do next is pin our sleeves right side facing, and also our front and back pieces right side facing, and we're then going to go ahead and sew a continuous seam all along until we close up our sleeve and side seams of our shirt. Quick fit check, guys. I'm pleased with the size I've chosen to sew, which is the size 20. I'm a bit concerned about the sleeves at this point. They're short even without the cuffs on, although I'm hoping that because it's a double cuffed situation, when I do attach them, it won't be too short. Let's continue and see what the finished result looks like. So now we are working on our cuffs, and we have our upper cuff and our lower cuff, and the first thing we need to do, wrong sides facing, is fold our upper cuff in half. I just want to pin it. Bit of basting stitch. What I'm going to go and do is attach it to our waist. So we want to just go ahead and baste up. Now we've got our upper and lower cuff basted. Go ahead and turn over 1.5 centimeters of the lower cuff and press. Wrong side to wrong side. Now that we've done our cuff, guys, the next step is to attach it to our sleeve. And just something I've observed while doing this, I don't think I would interface both cuff pieces, or maybe I would use a lighter interfacing, because I feel like my cuff is very bulky, and I would just like it to be a bit more flexible than what it currently is. We're now going to go ahead and attach our cuff to our sleeve, and you want to make sure you are matching your notches, or your notch. There is a notch here that we need to match and pin. And we want to go ahead and pin all the way around. And here is our attached sleeve. I really love this double cuff detail here, and that's what takes a basic to an elevated basic, is the details. And that detail for me is just chef's kiss. I love this. So yeah, that's our sleeve done, guys. All we have to do now is finish off our hem and add our buttons, and then we're done. Because we are working with a curved hem, in order to finish this off neatly, what we have to do is sew about 1/4 inch away, put a basting stitch 1/4 inch away from the raw edge, so that we can ease it in, and then we'll be able to neatly finish our hem. Now with our basting stitch, we're gonna just pull on one side so we can slightly get some ease. Here is my finished hem, guys. This is what it looks like. And also the section of our placket that I unbasted to finish it off, I've gone ahead and put a top stitch back over both sides. We're adding buttonholes to the right side of our shirt, and we're adding the buttons to the left side.
And here is the final result, guys. If you made it this far in the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of the finished result, and also let me know what you think of how I styled this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.